Good morning. Hello. Happy Monday. All right. Last week we finished up the Axum X Twitter clone, and or at least we finished enough of it that we declared that project is completed for now. So now we're gonna move on to U. So U.0.021 has been released. I don't know if there's any dot releases after that. I would bet that there would be at least a few. Hello, Albert. How are you doing today? And hello, Chantilly. How are you? So we're going to be jumping on and working on these. These are our features so far. Albert, you streamed this weekend. Yeah, so I saw the notifications. I was busy doing some other stuff, so I couldn't jump on to say hi. But how is it? How did your streams go? Chantilly, you're doing pretty good. Awesome. That's good to hear. And we have a Zilby. Sort of. He's sitting up, so you can't really see his face. All right, so I believe that this is basically everything we want to see. Now, looking at this a little bit more closely, as you want to create a post, so what I probably want is like a centralized screen, just like what Twitter, I don't know if it still has it, but basically like you have your create post at the top, and then you just have a bunch of posts down below. I'm not going to implement anything like infinite scroll or pagination. We're just going to load up all the posts. We're going to allow you to click into a post. So I want to create a post. I want to, we can start with creating a post, and then we're going to see all the posts. And then we want to click into a single post to see that. Then you can reply to it. Once you've clicked into the single post, you could also update it. And then I suppose that once you're clicked into it, you could also delete it. So that's going to be the plan. We're not going to try to make it look exactly like Twitter. In fact, we're probably not going to focus too much on trying to make it look amazing. Anyways, we're just going to focus on really like the core parts of it that make it for learning. Yeah, something like that. That light is really bright in the Zilby preview, but also you get to see Zilby's face really well. I wonder if I could fix that. Let me try something really quickly. Hi. The cable's a little bit too far. Okay, that's pretty good. Much better. I have the heater on over here if he just wants to come over here and hang out. But for some reason he doesn't like it over here until the afternoon, and then he'll come and hang out over here after the heater's off, which has always been mind-boggling to me. But okay, that is the plan. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's see, we're gonna have our tech used and the versions. So the very first thing that we need to do is make sure that we have Trunk installed. We probably want the latest version of Trunk, but let's go double check what they want us to have. when looking through the documentation, really make sure that you're on 0.21, not next, not an older version. It sometimes drops me to older versions when I'm navigating through. I don't know if it's like a cookie that like sort of like remembered where I was or something else, but that's something to be aware of. Oh, right, Rust. So starting with Rust. Let's update our version of Rust, which I don't think. So I think that we have the latest version because I think we installed on Friday, and like Thursday or Friday last week, there was an update like right before we did that. I didn't even realize. I haven't even looked at what happened in it. All right, so this is Rust 174.1. We do need to install the WebAssembly target. Let's reinstall this again. Can I see the versions of that? Is there like a list or view? Oh, there's show. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it doesn't tell me the versions of this. It just says up to date. Okay. So with toolchain, that, okay. Next up, install trunk. So let's run this and see what version it installs. It does seem like there's a new version of trunk out. Okay, that looks like trunk version 0.17.5. It's funny how like this last part takes forever. I don't think the fans are going, and my computer is not really even warm yet. I did turn had it sleeping overnight though. Okay, there we go. So trunk 0.17.5 has been installed. Excellent. We're not going to install any of these things. Xtask WASM still in early development. I wonder what that's going to give us. But I'm also not going to worry too much about it. Okay, so now we can start building things. So the very first thing we want to do is probably set up a index.html. So over here at the root of the project, I want to touch an index.html. Xanax, hello. How are you doing today? I forget what the like all the XML, like XML or version or something like that we throw in here. I got so used to not needing to do that. Let's see. We have our head, we have our body, we have our body, we have HTML. So if I just do the very bare minimum. Good, you're getting more familiar with Vim. Oh, are you switching over to NeoVim or something like that? I remember you were chatting about it on Discord. And once I have that, I should be able to run everything with a trunk serve. Okay, so you're successful. You are, oh no, it's not finished yet. It'll tell me. I'm pretty sure it'll tell me. Maybe you'll tell me? Oh, you know what? I totally forgot. You actually need like you set up and going. Okay, so this is the only reason it didn't error out is because I don't have I do have the index.html set up in it. We still need like actually the U stuff going. So no, this command. There you go, resize. All right, so let's now switch over to actually building this thing. So what I like to do is I like to have my like main components and everything else in the sort of like broken apart. So if we go into source, we just have main.rs here. Okay, so that's great. That's where I sort of wanted to start everything, but I want to have like an app component. I want to have like the router. We want to have all of that kind of stuff. So we're going to set up everything there to begin with. So I don't think I need a special like router or pages. So I probably want to just touch, I'm going to touch live.rs, and I'm probably just going to put the app inside of there. Sometimes if the app is really big, I'll break it out from live.rs and make its own component. I don't think we're going to need to start with something like that. So I guess we'll begin with that, and then we'll see how complex it ends up getting. Obviously, we need you in order to get going with this. So I need to. Okay, so we want you. And then notice here that it has features. So client-side rendering, CSR, and server-side rendering. None of them are by default added in. So we need to make sure that we add in FCSR. Otherwise, we won't be able to client-side render and it will be not great. I'm not super, like, I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, with feature CSR. Okay, so we have you, we have features, CSR. Okay. If we head to the main library now, we should be able to create our app. Now let's see if anything's changed. So here, build a sample app. That's not really all that helpful. And I'm still not super happy that they have you go straight to their GitHub, their Git, in the documentation there. But okay, here's what we need to do. So we're going to create a function component of an app that returns HTML like that. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do a it's just a function app, so function component that uses function component. Call this app, I think. If we have any props, we can add them in here. I don't think we do have any props though. We have to return HTML. And HTML, we have an HTML macro. In which we can do things like h1 hello world. Okay. Now this app on its own isn't really all that helpful, and then I probably want to make that capitalized A to be consistent with everything else, although that's gonna, oh no, okay, so that does, this turns into a struct essentially behind the scenes, so that's why we need this to be capitalized. And I used to call these all components because it didn't really matter, but then I found out that I can actually I don't have to have the parentheses. I don't have to call this as a function essentially. And then it takes the name from the function right here, which is much nicer. I like that a lot more. All right, so once we have this app, we need to use the app. So in our main function, we're going to call this uRender and then pass in the app. So this is public, so we're going to head over to main. Now you don't need to be asynchronous. That's something that's like, we're coming from Axum land. We needed to have like Tokio installed. We needed async main. We don't need that here. We're going to just call uRender and then pass it the app. So uRender, and they're going to do new and then render. So we have to pass in Turbofish, pass in that app, and then new render. And then that apparently can't fail. Okay, so we have a success here. We are running trunk serve for this, I believe, right? So if we come, I'm going to open up Firefox Dev Edition. Where are you loading? Is it 8080? I think it is. Hello, there's that hello world there. Let's try making a change. Hello, Twitch and YouTube. And there it goes. Okay, so auto updates. Now this isn't as fast as some of the web tooling that we're used to over in JavaScript land. There's been a lot of updates over there. So if you're coming from JavaScript and like things are a little bit slow, we have it. We understand it. We know. There are some other tools that are in Rust that are a lot faster. Like Leptos, for example, is updating pretty much as fast as you hit save. You look over and like, wait, did it change? Did it update? I don't know. this feels like it's a little bit farther behind, but we do have auto updating for it through Trunk, which is really nice. Okay, so this is the super basics. Now we have, before we build anything else out, we probably want to set up routing so we can have different pages, because we know we at least want a main page and like a single page. And we don't want to have to just sort of like do old school style. We want to just have, you know, full front end routing. So what is that going to look like? I'm going to create a new file. Where am I? Oh, I'm in source right now. Okay, so we're in source. We see this main, we see this lib. Okay, so we want to, I'm just going to create a flat level, like a flat hierarchy, and so put the route right in here. I don't really see a need to put like all the other stuff around yet. If we need to, we'll break it out into separate folders later. So I'm going to switch to router.rs. And also, as part of the router, we're going to need some page to deal with that. So let's also create a, I don't like to call it routes. I'm going to call them pages. Attach mod.rs and home.rs. All right, so in library, I'm going to, I don't need to make this publicly mod. I don't need main to have access to it. So we're going to have pages. Yeah, shouldn't you be fine? We have pages mod.rs. Let's see, I'm in lib.rs. Did I do this in a wrong location? No, okay, pages right there next to lib. I bet I need to restart the REST analyzer. There we go. Okay, now you're happy. So we have our pages up here, and then we want to probably go into our pages mod, and this one we're going to be pub mod home. So we're going to make this available, and then let's create a really quick home component here. Oh, you're right. I did forget to announce the stream in my Discord. Oh, sorry about that. Hold on. Let me do that really quickly. Late announcement. But I'm live. To work on the U part of the X Twitter. Okay. Thanks, Albert. I completely forgot that. Usually when I'm going through all the apps and I'm sort of like separating them out, making sure they're not in the main screen, I just sort of like preset that. So that's not good. Today I just completely forgot about that. Which is strange because it's been a habit for a while. I just apparently didn't muscle memory it today. So sorry everybody who missed out, who was not here because you didn't see it. Let's see. Okay, so back to this. We have home. In our home, we want to return our HTML. And we're gonna start with just an H. So we have to make a decision because like this is the full page. I'm gonna put like another H1 here. And let's see. This is, we'll just call this homepage. Okay, that's it. Now we can go to our router. Oop, I want to go to our library. Stacking, hello. How are you doing? What? I heard the same noise that he did, but I don't think it was anything special. I think he like, I don't know. I don't know what that was, but it concerned Zilby. Okay. You're here all in your glory. Well, thank you for coming. And awesome to have you back. It's been a while. Okay, so to create a router, let's see what's changed in router. So previously we'd create an enum for each route. And let's see if any of that has changed. So, oh, first off, we need urouter. So let's go ahead and add that in. Okay, so just urouter version 18. You start by defining a route. Routes are defined as an enum, which derives routable. The enum must be clone and partial equal. Okay, so we basically need to create an enum that is clone, routable, and partial equal. And then we can put all of our routes at, and you notice with like at, and then where they are. Okay, so let's do pub enum routes. This needs to be was it routable? Yeah, routable, partial equal, and clone. So we're gonna have a home, and that is gonna be, what is it, at? Yeah, at slash. We could have like a 404 page, we can have other things depending upon their match. And so here's the first sort of thing that's a little bit interesting. If you've never done front-end development with any kind of, well, I guess like any kind of routing in the front end, it's exactly like routing on a back end. But if you also have a router on a back end, then you have to sort of like keep in mind what is handling the code at what time. Like, where is this code running? Because right now I do have that X-Twitter project that we created before that's running on the back end, and then I'm gonna have this running on the front end. It can get confusing until you really sort of like fully understand what's happening and why. So we're gonna keep going through it, and I'll do my best to explain as we hit each point. Okay, so we have our enum route. Okay, that's great. Now we only have one route in here, and that's fine. We're going to have, okay, so this is the name of a component. So this is creating a component. I don't care about that. Now I care about you a lot. So we're gonna have this function named switch. And then this takes in routes, which is this route enum. And it's going to return HTML. We're going to match the routes, and based upon that, we're going to load one of the components. Okay, pretty easy and simple, right? So let's put this documentation over on the right. So we're going to have a pub function switch. We're going to take in routes, which is the route. I guess it does make sense that this is route. And then we're going to return HTML. We're going to, okay, so it's going to have a route. Home is the only thing we have right now. So if we match that, we're going to return HTML. And inside of that, now they just have this being like h1 home like that, but we're going to use this pattern right here. So we want to, if we hit this one, we want to load up our home. And actually, I think we can do this because it doesn't, we don't need any children, so we can just do like that. Okay, so that's great. Unexpected closing delimiter. Yeah, I don't need that. We're happy. What are you upset about? Oh, I completely forgot to do a match. Match on routes. That would do it. Okay, so now you're upset because we don't have a home, so let's import you from the crate. Great. Okay, so the switch isn't being used yet, so this isn't going to show up in our app. If we continue taking a look at this, we just have whatever we have in our main page. So that's not really all that helpful. Let's switch back to lib, and we want to set it up so that the router can see this. Now, the way that works is we have our app here. We're going to have our HTML, and we want to use this component that's provided to us called browser router. So I'm going to keep this h1 in here for right now. Now, what I've noticed is that Rust Analyzer doesn't really help with any pulling anything in until you like have things legally set up. So let's browser router. Are you gonna? Yeah. So now it lets me import this in. So import that. Also, this is HTML. Rust isn't really aware what that is. There is a community project to try to bring in some proper highlighting and proper indentation, sort of like linting for the HTML. It's not there yet. So basically, you're on your own for making sure it's intended correctly. And now, if you screw this up and you do something like h like that, which doesn't exist, it will yell at you saying like, "Hey, this is not a like legal tag." And if it will try to run this, but that's not a legal tag either. So it's sort of like you're kind of on your own to like make sure it's legal HTML. That's a little bit unfortunate, browsers can help us a little bit with this. So we'll have to dive in and start using some browser dev tools as part of this, but we'll get there. Okay, so we have our Hello Twitch and YouTube. We have this browser router component, but this doesn't make our component show up yet. Not yet. We're close though. Inside of here, we're going to have this switch. So there's a switch component, which comes from uRouter. Let's put this in here. We're going to close it like that. Now, this switch component takes in a generic, so we need to pass in a generic for it. And this is going to be that route enum that we have. So use, go grab that. And then we have to have, okay, so render, how to render or what to render is going to be passing in a reference essentially to that switch function. It's not really a reference. I think it's just actually passing in the function itself. I'm too used to JavaScript where this exact syntax would be the switch. So I want this. Pass in a switch function, but then don't call it. Just pass in without the parentheses. All right. Can I find your value? Okay, so import create order switch. Import you and import you. Okay. Now, if we come back to here, hey, we see it. Okay, so hello Twitch and YouTube, and then homepage. So notice that we have this hello Twitch and YouTube up above. Now, the homepage here is because this is where the switch is located. If I move the switch above the H1, now we're going to get homepage above there. So think of it this way, and the switch is going to be where all the routes are, all the pages that we have, that's sort of going to be substituted in for where the switch is. And it's going to be based upon where we decide to go to. So based upon what the URL essentially tells us to be. This H1 is going to be always there. So if you want some components to always be there, regardless of what navigation we're at, then this is the perfect place to load them in. Otherwise, you want to load them in probably per page. So oftentimes you might have like a navigation page at the top or a footer page at the bottom or something like that. That's how you can handle that. For right now, we're just going to delete this because I don't know if I need any sort of global components. Okay, so there we go. So we have our homepage like this. This is also something to be aware of. Rules for like H1s, you're only allowed to have one H1 per page, but web pages and JavaScript is really cool. It's not going to yell at you and tell you that you're actually doing something illegal. It's just going to let you do that. And the illegal part of it is unfortunately hitting people who need to use like screen readers or some other accessibility tools a little bit more than the rest of us, because those ones sort of assume that you're following proper HTML and JavaScript and everything else. So it's up to us. We need to keep on top of it. If you ever want to look into that, search for Mozilla's MDN. They have a great documentation for just what you're allowed to do. And then Lighthouse is the other thing, and we might be able to install a Lighthouse checker like extension and sort of ask it, hey, are we doing okay? We can do that later. All right, up until then, we have our component. So now we can start talking about our features. So our first feature is, as a user, I want to create a post. So, okay, well, what does create mean? Well, in this case, a post has 256 characters, but that's still a lot. So that's more than just like maybe a single tiny, whatever this is called. Let's just go and like put it all in home and just sort of see how this feels. We're not going to keep it in home. We're going to break it out. But okay, so here we are in home. Now, first off, we're only allowed to have a single child component, a single child thing inside of any of these components. So if I try to put in like a form here, it's going to yell at me and say, hey, you're only allowed to have one of these. Now you are allowed to do something called fragments, where basically I can do that. It's like an empty tag, and now this is perfectly legal. Notice that it didn't indent for me. I have to do that myself. Now what this looks like over here, I'm opening up my dev tools. On this browser, I can do, let's see, I'm on a Mac, so it's Command Alt or Command Option. I think on a PC, it's Control Option, and then I, to open up console right away, and then I can switch over to Inspector, and then you can also just right click anywhere and inspect. Makesy, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the raid. How are you doing today? How's your stream? It was pretty good. You've been working on UI stuff for your game. Nice, excellent. I'm doing pretty good. It's nice and morning, and we're getting going with some web development with Vue. So we're on a front end now. We're using Vue as the library, or the framework in this case. And then if you're familiar with React, it's pretty much the same there. Like that's all you really. You just need to know. It's pretty much React. So awesome. That's great. Radhika, hello. My stream looks pretty good. Well, thank you for that. Hey, and Restream Bot actually worked. Cool. Chat, hello. Full stack development. Yes, we are. This is one of the nice things. Nowadays, we can have nice things, and we can get full stack development in Rust, which is I wonder if we're going to get back into that entire like sort of battle of like, oh, for full stack developers, no, choose a front end or back end. It's like, no. You can do both. And I do have my opinions about that, but let's see. Okay, so now I have Darkreader installed on this. By default, your page is going to look like this. And that's gonna be fine. I'm gonna keep Darkreader on so I don't blast everybody's eyes with sort of white backgrounds. Just be aware that when you're doing this on your own, unless you also have Darkreader installed, you're going to just have white background with black text, and that's okay. All right, so one thing that's important, just throwing everything to the body is okay for this. We might want to have some kind of main tag, but I'm trying to decide like where exactly do I want this. Now, something that might be nice, we could have like an H1 tag like this. You're only allowed to have one H1 per page. So we're just gonna leave them in the pages right now. But let's actually rename this. Instead of home page, let's name this our X Twitter clone. And that's great. Now, what if I wanted to center that? Well, if I want to center that, we need some kind of styling, don't we? So we have a couple different options here. First off, let's figure out what the CSS to actually do that is. So if you've never used the front end dev tools, every single browser has this now. To open it up is maybe slightly different keywords, but once you get into sort of like this view where you can get into the inspector, even on like Safari, I believe that you can't really get this on mobile. So if you're on a tablet or you're on a or you're on a phone, unfortunately this won't work. There are ways to get that, but you still need a desktop to sort of connect the browsers together, unfortunately. So assuming that we're on some kind of computer, Linux, Mac, Windows, like all of those will be fine for this. We've loaded up our web page. I want to select this H1 here, and then we're going to come down here to the styling. Now I'm got this on half size. If I make this full size big, it's going to be over on the right. And I want to find where it says this element, and for this element now, whatever I put in here is going to be added directly onto that element, and so I can play around with styles. So we can do, I want to do a text align center, and notice that as soon as I click that, it already changed over. So I can just basically like select all these and go like, which ones do I want? So I want center. And so it tells me, okay, well, I could just do this style text align center like that over here. And that's great. That works. Now, if I wanted to make this real over here, I could just copy this. I could just do style equals text align center. We save that. This refreshes, and we're good to go. But there is a problem with this. I can never reuse this. I have to constantly rewrite this over and over again. And I'm not a huge fan of just throwing styles directly into the HTML. It's good to know that you can do this, but I don't recommend you doing this for everything. Only for sort of like little emergencies or tests. It's really good for that kind of thing. REST is real full stack. You can modify the Tokio backend if you want to run your server on your own OS kernel if you want. Yeah, I mean, it allows you to run all sorts of stuff on your own. So it's really good with that. Okay, so if I want that, now I want to, if we want to do real like CSS, I can use the CSS, let's see, let our style. There's a CSS macro. Is that something I have access to here, or is that only... Oh, that, okay, I think we can only get this with stylist. So I like to use stylist. Now there's a few different style libraries we can choose to use. Let's go and see. In HTML, I want not classes. There it is. Okay, so down under more CSS. Okay, so it looks like 0.21 did not bring in any new styling type things. I'm a fan of stylist here. There are some component libraries. I usually just go to create my own if I want. Oh, the Leptos docs also list a few. Oh, are there better choices now? Wouldn't be in here, right? No. Oh, there is awesome Leptos. Where did they put it? Okay, so interlude styling. Okay, so... Oh, okay, interlude styling. So that's chapter 10, I missed it. Use relatively new package. How do you learn it? It says no major resources available. Right now, it's it depends upon what your skill level is right now and where you are with web development. If you have absolutely no like sort of background, if you've never done any like front end development previously, then probably one of the online tutorials would be the best place to start at, because you can watch people get started with it. I do have a YouTube course that I went through with 0.18, I think, which is 3 versions prior to this, but it will sort of like, it goes through a lot of like what web development is and how that works, and sort of like a quick step through. And so this is more of like, hey, we're getting through, and I'm not going quite as in depth as I did in that course. And there's a bunch of other people that have sort of like an introduction to you videos that might be the best place to start. And then once you sort of get going, then the docs are going to be your next best bet, and then just experimentation. Because front end development in general is really lends itself well to experiments. Okay, Tailwind CSS. I don't want to use that. Stylers. Compile time scope CSS library lets you declare scope CSS in the body of your component. Stylers will extract the CSS at compile time into CSS files you can then import into your app. Okay, that could be interesting. So we have our component. We create a style. So this is for app. And then how do I use this styler class? Oh, class equals styler class. Okay. Now I wonder, styled, this is runtime scoping. And that's it. I don't know. What do you all feel? Stylers, styled, or what we've used in the past, which is stylist. Stylist definitely works with you. I've used it before, so that'll be fairly quick for us to get going with. So I'm leaning more towards that. But these are all sort of like things to sort of continue checking out. So let's go find stylist. And they show here's the U integration for that, but I believe that you need a feature for you. Maybe? Is this the right one? 2 months ago. That sounds about right. I believe 2 months ago was when U 0.21 got released. So let's do that. We'll cargo add stylist. Yeah, so notice that all of these features are added in for us, but there is a server-side rendering. U is not added in, so we need to add in a U feature. And I don't know if I need the rest of them. I might need U style. We'll find out really quickly. So let's go ahead. This is stylist 0.13.0. Okay, so we are in our home page here. Now to use stylist with that, I want to change it from function component to styled component. Okay. And then, which means I don't need this function component anymore, but we'll just sort of wait until the end for this. Okay, so this CSS is just now available to us. It actually works. So we have this style source. Now we can put in, we want this, what, text align to be center. That's gonna be great. I think I want, do I want something like that? Or do I want, I think I want something like H, maybe like dot center. I think that's more appropriate. If you're unfamiliar with CSS, this dot here is basically saying I want to match a class. So this is going to be what I'm matching, and this is going to be the rule that is for the things that are matched. So instead of this style like that, I want to put in a class. Now they have the documentation. Let's make sure nothing has changed here. Actually, they're recommending that we use style macro for this. And then I think that we can just add it in to a style. So let's do that. Instead of CSS macro, we use style macro. Okay, import style as style. That gives us a result. Are you using this as a result? Yeah, so there is this expect they have at the end here. So we'll just hard crash because really this should always work for us if we want it to. It shouldn't crash due to like an illegal style. Okay, so expect it's like style failed to create. There we go. Okay, so we have our style, and then I should be able to add this in here with a class. And then I don't want to use quotes here because I would just want to use the contents of this style. So that's going to be like that. I think that's how that works. Let's find out. That is not working. But I do see, okay, stylus, that's great. And if I come up here to head, I should find, here's the style, data style stylist with the same sort of random letters. Okay. Oh yeah, look at this. Okay, so it's basically saying, all right, we have this H1 class, and then a dot center on top of that. So space dot center. And so what it's looking for is it's looking for anything that has this class. Well, it found it. And then any child of this, which it's the H1 itself, would then be given the center. So unfortunately, there is no child tags to H1. So either I can add it to the body, or we can get rid of this dot center like that. And that makes it go, that makes it actually apply here. So now it's just, okay, stylus that. And if we take a look at what that looks like, that is just, okay, select this class and then dot align center that. Okay. But that is how we can create some CSS and then add it in here. And it's only going to ever affect this H1 here. So we'll probably break this out a little bit later to make it more transportable. I don't know what the right word for that is. But okay, so we have a form. Now the form is invisible because there's nothing inside of it right now. We're not really using that. We just have our title for this. Now I want to, inside of here, there are components for, or there are tags, HTML tags for just pretty much anything that you want. It's really a descriptive language that allows us to sort of tell the browsers, here's what I want, here's how it works, and here's like, where to put it. And then the styling part is here's like, you know, tweak it a little bit, make it look good, make it look the way you want it to. And so HTML and CSS sort of go together a lot. Okay, so I want to have some kind of probably like an input. I don't really care about like the design that we have right now. What Xtwitter right now has, I'm caring about like, okay, I want some kind of like input to tell me what it is. So like create a new post. So let's do maybe like an H2 or something. So H2. I want a create new post. I didn't really describe it, but notice how I'm having to put all of my text inside of here, inside of brackets, and then inside of quotes. You don't need to do that in normal HTML. This is to work with the HTML macro. This is also, if you're coming from Leptos, you don't need to do that either. It just sort of works the way you expect it to. So that's something to be aware of. All right, so we have this create new post. It's slightly smaller because it's an H2, which is okay. And then I want to have some kind of input, like input field. So if I do just an input like this, so input type equals text. I don't really have anything else that I care about this right now. If I do that, here is an input box. It's not that big, and it's also not multi-line. We're going to allow 250 something odd characters. I believe that there is a way for me to set the size. It's like size, length. Let's go actually take a look at that. So if I go back to my other Firefox browser, I'm going to search for MDN input text. And MDN just has all sorts of documentation for us. So it's really good to sort of take a look in here. I always just do my search with MDN at the beginning because I like their documentation the most. They also tend to be on up to date the most. I sometimes I get kind of questionable, especially from like, let's see, if I ever did just a search for like input text, W3 Schools pops up a lot. I've had really mixed results going to them. So just be aware that it usually is okay, but sometimes is not. Okay, input type text. So they have a little bit of a playground for us to play with here. And then they show us an example, and then they also like have the traditional documentation where it shows like all the different options that we can have. So we can actually tell our input tag to have like a different size. Like here, I want this to be 255. So if I do that, it's now 255 wide. Okay, well that seems to be the biggest thing that I want here. But I can also say like, okay, a minimum length, if it's required or not. A max length, that seems great. So let's go ahead and add this in here. So we're going to do text. We're going to have a size equals 255. We want a min length of 1 and a max length of 255. And then, sure, we can just say you're required too. The required, I don't have to have anything in there, just the word required, and that is good enough. Well, actually, you know what? In normal HTML, it's good enough. Not here. For Rust, it's a strong type system, so I have to set this to be true or false. Now, I can't set this to be just like a string true or false. It needs to be a real true or false. So this will be brackets, so I can hand it a Rust value, and that will be that true. Okay, there we go. That's what we need to do. And that is a long input bar. I mean, as funny as it would be to make our users actually write out their entire tweet in a single line and then scroll horizontally to see it, it's probably not the best design for us. Ryzen Ninja, hello. How are you doing today? Stacking, you can't remember, does Firefox have an MDN search by default? That is a good question. Do they have an MDN search? This one goes by, let's see. If I go into the settings, which I don't know if that will expose anything. I don't think it will. So let's see, we can do default search engine. No, MDN is not one of their default search engines. Search alternatives. It's not even a search alternative. Well, okay. Well, yeah, you're gonna have to put in like MDN to begin with. DuckDuckGo might have something for that. You're doing good. Awesome. That's great. I'm doing pretty good. We're working on web development, which is always a lot of fun. Okay, so this isn't great. I don't like this. Now, there's other types that we can use. And so if we come over to the left, we actually don't want an input type at all, which unfortunately for a lot of development in general, discoverability is a problem. Now, they have a new AI, which we've played around with in the past, which can help. So if I use this, I want to say, I want to allow my user to input 255 characters, but not have everything in one line. What tag should I use? Let's see if it correctly figures out the tag that I would expect. Okay, so it does first start with an input tag. However, please note this approach does not enforce a maximum character limit, while the one we did does. However, this approach does not provide multi-line functionality. If you want that, we need something called a text area. It would be nice if this, does it link to text area? It does not. That's too bad. Let's go find text area. So this is its own tag. It's not an input tag. It's its own separate thing. And if we take a look at it, we have this text area, and then we get this, which is much, much, much better. Okay, so let's put this over on the right. So instead of input like that, we're going to have text area. Text area. Now they're suggesting we have an ID. We'll get into that, like why we want that in a little bit. Name. Okay, so how many rows we have. So let's just start with like, what do we get by default? If I just do a text area like that, there is my text area. Not too bad, right? I can type a bunch of stuff. Now, if I want this to like actually show off the like, you know, how many characters we have, I think we can do like, so we have rows. I can set this to be equal to like 10 rows. So that's a little bit too big. Maybe it feels like, if I want like maybe 5 rows, I think I can do calls too. Like calls, maybe like 50 calls. That looks a little bit better. Now, if I want something like 250 characters, now I believe that actually the number of columns is the number of characters along the right. Let's find out. So if I do, that's what, 10? So 20, 30, 40, 50. And if I try to do one more, 51. Okay, 51. So, but then another one down there. Okay, so we can do a little bit of rough math here. If I want 255 characters total, and then I want like maybe 5 rows like this, or maybe like a certain number of columns, we can just sort of figure out the other one that I want. Bamero, hello, how are you doing today? So let's see, 250, it's 255, but let's do 200, like 250 is like easy to do math with. So if I want 50 columns, 250, so like divide 250, so that would be 25 by 250 by 50, 25 by 5, there'd be 5 columns down, right? Yes, this is pretty close. This is pretty close to getting us that. And then I want a little bit more, so let's do like 55, just to make sure we have extra room for it. Okay, there we go. We're good to go. And then let's see. I want a button to show up at the bottom for post. Okay. So we'll just have a button component. And the way to get the name of the button is just to put it right between here. And so this is going to be maybe like a submit post. And then this has to be, we have to give it a type. So type equals submit. And there's our submit there. That's not looking super great right now. And that gets to another fun thing with web development. We have inline components, and then we have sort of like just full components. So an H tag, one of these, is a full, like it takes up the entire line. If I come over here to our dev tools, we look at the inspector and I click on this little, the select button, I think, a picker. We can highlight over. So I'm not clicking, I'm just sort of moving my mouse. We can see that this entire component takes the entire width of the screen. The sort of the yellow above the blue of the selection is showing me the margins and potentially paddings that is also applied to it. So this text area box only takes up like its own thing. It doesn't take up the entire line, so it's what we call inline. Everything else sort of goes around it. And the same thing with a button. So if I want these to be all on their own lines, we have to like do something about that class-wise. Now we're putting a class on this this h1 tag here. That's like fine. What if I wanted to put on, so this is storing like h1. What if I want like another one? Let's rename you. Instead of style, let's rename this like maybe call this like center. And we're gonna have to break this out into their own components pretty quickly, because if you try to put everything in one component, it gets really unwieldy pretty quickly. All right, so then let's like call this like a form. So we know it's going to apply to the form directly, so we want just sort of what's going to show up for everything down here. Now there's several ways to do alignment in CSS. I'm going to use my favorite way, which is going to be flex. So we're going to say your display, and instead of like whatever your normal display is, be flex. So let's just start with that and see what happens. I'm going to not redo that, unwrap you, and I'm going to apply you to here. Okay, there we go. It put everything all in one line. So remember that this H2 was taking up the entire line. Well, display flex to just remove that and made it no longer a full width sort of a component. Now it is inline. Everything is inline, and it's sort of trying to make everything look good, but it's not really doing that great of a job. So I want everything on its own line all the way down. And there's a way to do that. So we're going to come back to here, and we're going to say in the form where we have this class stylist, here's the stylist class that we can actually see. It's display flex. So if I just click into here, it's going to update just in the browser in this one session. If I hit refresh, it'll just go away. But I can sort of play around with this. So I want what are my choices here? I want to make this I want to do some kind of like align. So we have align content, align items. If I do like align content, was it align items? It might be align items. No, it was justify content. Justify content. Actually, I think it justify content or justify items. I can never remember the first time I did this. It's not any of those. Let's do justify content. There it goes. Okay. So centers it all. Oh, right. Justify content is all about horizontal. I forgot that. I think I want align items. So we're going to do align content. Is it align items for this one? There we go. Align items, and just sort of around and doing that. Oh wait, it's there's another one for this. I keep on forgetting, it's been a while. There is a way to get them to line up. It's not justify, it's not align, it's something else. Can I get like the list of them? No. We can go look it up on MDN. MDN Flex CSS. Redica, why am I not using Tailwind CSS? I'm not the biggest fan of Tailwind, which I know is like not normal for most people. Most people are really happy with Tailwind. I think that Tailwind doesn't really give us as much as I think a lot of people think that it does. If you pay them and you use the paid version, you get a lot. Like it gives you tons of things for it. But yeah, I feel like the use, like the setting up of it and like getting that going is like not giving you that much more than just doing everything yourself. So like usually what I would rather do is just like, okay, I'm just gonna use like create my own component library and then throw like Bootstrap in there or something else, and then I can replace those as I want to later on if I need to. I'd sort of like wrap around each component that I'm using and then sort of replace from that. And Tailwind is like pretty much the same. So one day I'll probably do here's how to use Tailwind. I just don't really do it that much on my own. Okay, so there is where is the Flex? Do you have like a list of the other Flex properties? There's a tag for Flex property. Oh wait, no, that takes me to someplace else. I want to go there. It's not a line item, it's Flex direction. That's what it is. Flex direction. So it's Flex. Oh, if I just typed Flex, I would have seen that. So Flex direction, I want this to be a column here. And so that creates it as a column all the way down. Perfect. So I have, now the submit post is really, 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 really large. We'll stick with that. And then if I really want to, I can then set this button and I can say, okay, you are going to be a like, a width of, I don't know, 150 pixels, something like that. I can either do pixels or I can do some relative number. So relative to the size of the entire sort of screen, we can do view width, like oh, let's not do view width. Let's do based upon like the size of this text. So that's what there is. Oh man, I forgot the thing. It's what is the selector, or what is the style thing for the size of text? This shows like if you go for too long without front end, you forget all the little mini things. I bet if I go down, oh, style Dark Reader doesn't like do anything with that. Let's see. I'll have to find out. I do like the AI sort of thing here. Oh, this is it. Rem. One rem. So if I do width is like, we have a bunch of these, like what, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So if we do like 15 rem, that doesn't look too bad. And then once I have this selected here, I can do just down arrows to reduce it down. So we can sort of like, oh, okay, you know what, this looks fine. 6 rem. Now the rem here is basically saying, okay, I want root, so the root font of the page, and then M's, and that's literally short for the M key, like, you know, the letter M. The letter M is the widest key, and so most of the time we have variable width fonts, and we're not using monospace fonts. So in this case, I want this entire thing to be the width of 6 M's. So even though I have a bunch of characters here, most of them are pretty thin. Like this T is the thinnest that I think that I have here. Maybe actually the I is thinner. And then we have 1 M. So that looks fine. We're good there. All right, so this gives us, okay, we have our component. Actually, this is not a component. This is our page. We have our first page. Now this still needs to be wired up. We need to like make sure that when we submit this, we can do something, but we can type in it. That refreshes our page, doesn't it? We need to fix this over here. So our form class, okay, so we have this as display flex, and I also want this to be a flex direction down. No, not down, column. Okay, and then I wanted the button to be specific to 6 thing. Now in this form, there's a child button, so I should be able to come down here and just say, select the button itself and make your width as 6 rem. And there we go. Okay, so that gives us that. Now if I want a little bit of space between here, I can also say with the button, like maybe I want a little bit of padding or margin right above there. So let's do a margin top of like 1 rem, so 1 M between them, and that separates them out a little bit. So just little things that you can do in code to sort of separate them out, and that looks a little bit better. Now this isn't like, you know, the most amazing design that we've ever had, but I think it's good for getting going with things. Crosbow, hello. You understand people use Bootstrap, Tailwind, or other CSS frameworks for standardized corporate projects, but is not needed for small personal projects. Most people use it because they don't know CSS really good, and I don't like most sites that look like Bootstrap. Yeah, that's true. Most sites do look like Bootstrap, especially if you don't like do any overrides. Like there are absolutely ways to override like Bootstrap or Tailwind or anything else, and like I wouldn't be surprised if we get to the point where like everything looks like a Tailwind site, and it's gonna happen eventually, and then we're gonna complain about that. But yeah, I would highly recommend learning how to use CSS. Create something like this. Like you don't need to learn how to make it the most amazing with CSS, but learn the fundamentals, like how to position things, how to move them around, because when you need to customize Tailwind or Bootstrap or something else, that knowledge is going to help out a lot. Plus, every company you're going to go into uses a different system, most likely. So you're going to need to adapt to different systems, and CSS is at the core of them all. All right. So let's see what's next. It's around 8:30, so it's around the time that it would normally end. This feels like a pretty good stopping point. So where we're going to continue with next time. That's not there's our saving place. I want to wire this up so that we can maybe like just console log out whatever the contents of this is when we click this submit button. Pwn Writer, hello. How are you doing today? And then there is a console here where you can run JavaScript code and just sort of play around with it. So if you're familiar with JavaScript, you probably know all this already. If you're unfamiliar with front-end development, or you only have done Rust development, the browser basically gives you a free, what is it called? It's not an IDE, right? What's the live thing? REPL. It gives you a free REPL. Thank you, Bimero. Yeah, 1 to 2 years later, new framework will be hot. That does seem to be what it is. It's like I would go like 1 to 5 years sometimes. It really depends. Like sometimes there's like a flurry of action, and then that's how it all goes. So, all right. So basically, you can run JavaScript code here, and then also we have the ability to log out. So like in your normal JavaScript, if you did console log, they would show up over here in your app. We want to do the same thing over here. Is when we click this button, I want to console log the contents of this form. And it's going to be a little bit more involved because we're in Rust and I don't have access to console.log. I have other things, but we'll get into that next time, which will be tomorrow morning. I need to take off today because I have the schedule up, so I'm be streaming every morning and afternoon. So at 7 a.m. Mountain Time, just like today. Every morning we'll be working on this, and then the afternoons we'll be playing a coding game. You're doing very good. Do you do Rust in? I assume that's Rust, right? It went behind the little heart icon. Do I do Rust in my day job as well? Kind of. So I'm part-time on my day job, and I'm the other part-time is working on this, like actually like Brooks Builds type stuff. So like I guess you could say I'm half-time on Rust if you count being a live streamer who writes Rust as like the job. Otherwise, then no. I just do web development type stuff. So like a lot of TypeScript, a lot of JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and then we use Vue as our framework of choice. All right, so that all being said, let's go ahead and take a look. What do we have? Togglebit is streaming. Let's go ahead and raid Togglebit. Togglebit had been feeling pretty bad for a while, but it sounds like Togglebit is feeling a lot better, which is good. So I'm gonna go ahead and where's my thing? Let's set up a raid for Togglebit on Twitch. Unfortunately, I can't raid anybody on YouTube. I'm not familiar with like a rating system that YouTube has, so sorry about that. Everyone who's over there, but everybody who's over here on Twitch, we're going to send you on over to Togglebit. Togglebit does a lot of development on Rust as well. He's working on a CLI, what is it called? framework for like sort of displaying things, and it's called Anathema, which is pretty fun. Why no Advent for Code? I don't know. Everybody else is doing Advent for Code. I'm not like super great at it. So I decided to use different challenges for my afternoon. So instead of Advent for Code, we're doing Coding Game, but it's a lot of fun. So we're working on that. I know. Sorry. Maybe someday I'll go through and I'll do that. I need to get a lot better at those type of things. And yes, Bamero is correct. Coding Game is fun. All right, so let's see. I think I went through all of the messages and everything else. So I'll be back 2:30 p.m. later this afternoon for some Coding Game. So with that, have a great rest of your day and see you next time. Bye.